هلو گایز، چطورین بچه؟ خوش اومدیم به یه ویدیو دیگه. این بار اومدیم با پارت 11 داستانهای واقعی ترسناک. دوتا داستان قرار با هم ببینیم. پس اگه این ویدیو دوست داشتین حتما ویدیو رو لایک کنید، چنل رو سابسکرایب کنید، زنگوله بغلش هم بزنید، چین سه منم بالای تصمیمات حتما اونجا مالو فالو کنید. توییتر، ردیت و تویچ توی دیسکریپشن هست، حتما به اونام سر بزنید. بدون معطلی Let's play. خدا.
When I was 23, my boyfriend and I broke up, so I was in the process of moving away from my hometown to Houston. I just wanted to start over somewhere new. It was about 3 a.m. and I was driving through a small
چرا باید ساعت 3 صبح از یه شهر نمیدونم کجا راه بیفتی سمت هیوستون؟
من بلد نیستم.
آره حتما مثل این چی بود، بنزین تمام کرده بود. اینا حتما بنزین تمام میکنن و به خوبی خوشی داستان تمام شد. همینه دیگه.
town in Texas. On my way to Houston, when I decided to stop for gas,
2 ثانیه نذاش بشه.
it was pretty empty, but the gas station was open. As I was filling up, looking at my phone, I saw a truck pull up to the
ساعت 3 شب گوشیشو در آورده داخل پمپ بنزین. تنهایی ببینه چه، شاید بخاطر ترس باشه ولی هیچ وقت این کارو نکنه.
pump on the other side of me. I wasn't paying any attention until I put my phone in my pocket to put the nozzle back, and I saw a man just staring at me. I smiled at him, turning to put the gas cap back on, when I saw 4 more men, 2 on either side. I thought that was weird, but I just wanted to get in my car.
وقتی هم با این صحنه روبرو شدید، اولین کاری که کنید جیغ بزنید. نه جیغ نزنید، بدوید سمت ماشین، برید تو در رو ببندید، ماشین روشن کنید، درید. تنها کاری که میتونید بکنید.
It was weird, but I just wanted to get in my car and go. As I went to pull the handle on my door, they attacked me. I was screaming and kicking and fighting as hard as I could, but I wasn't strong enough. 2 of them pulled me into the back seat of the truck while 2 of them pushed me in. I ended up draped over the
اشتباه در دو تامون گذاشتنم، 2 تاشون گذاشتنم تو 2 تای گذاشتنم تو ماشین، 2 تای دیگه هم هولم میدادن.
I ended up draped over their laps. I was still trying to get free, but it was hard to move with their weight holding me down. I started to cry. I have never felt so weak in my life. I started scratching one man, thinking, if they kill me, his DNA will be under my nails.
کلاسه آموزشی دارم میگم. آموزشی.
They pulled up to a motel and carried me inside of a room. I was screaming again, and the oldest looking one started hitting me, telling me to be quiet. One of them said if I was good, they wouldn't hurt me. They held me down on one of the beds and tied my hands and feet together with a belt and some kind of thin string like a shoelace. I was panicking and still crying, just telling them to let me go. I wouldn't say anything. I wouldn't tell anyone, that's what I told them. They started talking to each other in another language, one I couldn't recognize. Looking around the room, I saw bags and beer cans, lots of beer cans. It smelled like they had all been staying in this one room with 2 beds for a while. I don't really want to get into what they did to me, but at some point, one of the men said they needed more beer. They decided the smallest one was going to stay in the room with me.
الان هم حتما این دختر از در شیره میماره، میگه که حالا نمیدونم یا هم باشیم. بعد در میره، بعد اینا همه گیر نمیافتن، فرار میکنن. مثلا میشه واقعا.
So after the other 4 left, it was just me and the man who looked to be around my age. I remember thinking I could probably beat him up if I get loose. I asked him if I could use the bathroom.
Yeah.
And when he untied me, I bolted for the door. I swung the door open, and he grabbed my arm. I yelled, "Get off me!" And he let go, eyes wide. I ran down the street, no clothes on, and jumped in front of the first car I saw. It was a confused elderly man. He rolled down his window and yelled, "What are you doing?" Like I was ruining his morning or something. I told him I needed help and that I was kidnapped. He drove me to the police station where I was given scrubs and could file a report. They ended up saying I needed to
لباس بهش دادم نوخ نداشتم تو شهر بگرده
go to the hospital for an examination so they couldn't record any evidence that the man may have left on me. I just wanted to shower and go home, honestly. I just wanted to talk to my mom. They found the men the same day. It turns out they were all brothers. They didn't say what they planned on doing with me after, or why they did it in the first place. They claimed to be all blackout drunk at
آره مست بودیم ما هم دو تو شاخ بود شاخ بهم حتما تو کامنت نیستی شاخ بهم میاد
the time. I ended up moving to the other side of the country, and even though I know they're still in prison, I get nightmares about what happened. I don't use my phone at all in public anymore. And my current boyfriend says I'm too paranoid. But I have to be, right? I never want to feel that weak again in my life.
چه چشمای گیرایی داره ولی تمام فیلم هایی که دیدیم آخرش هم اون یارویی که اول یه گنده و بدترین آدم بوده زود آخر سر میاد داستان فیلم ها برای من دیگه رو شده است نمیتونی سر من کلا بذارید هیولای روستا تا اونجا که نه حالا امیدوارم که باحال بشه 3 دقیقه و خورده
I am not one to have a great memory. Most things from my childhood I tend to forget, but this little event I could never forget. So it starts off in Texas at a relative's farm at least 14 years back during the summer. My family and I were starting to move. And since my brother and I were kind of small and not exactly helpful with moving stuff like furniture, we had to stay with our aunt, who was my dad's sister, and my uncle, who recently married my aunt and their son. I was around
Oi.
6 years old and my cousin was 12. My brother was 4.
پسر عمش که نه پسر شوهر عمش اون اول یکی رو داشته اون روز سر زا رفت و داداش هم 14 است 14
The three of us used to help out with many of the animals that were at the farms to waste time. But whenever our aunt and uncle say they didn't need our help, we would run off and do our own thing, which in other words meant going out with our slingshots. This one day our uncle told us that we could stay out as late as we wanted, so this meant we didn't have to come back before sundown.
چرا باید شوهرم این حرف رو بزنن حتما تو کامنت نه نویسید بنویسید
Like we usually did, the three of us, my cousin, my brother, and I, decided that we were going to go out as far as we possibly could from that farm and practice with our flimsy slingshots. Looking back at this, it's kind of funny how the three of us thought we could get anything and everything with a rickety slingshot. After a couple of hours of not finding anything and being at least a mile or two from the farm, we decided to go back. On the way back, we saw what we all thought was a coyote on the way back near the chicken pen. And seeing that it would take a long time to grab our uncle, the three of us with our flimsy slingshots tried to take care of it. Big mistake. The coyote turned around and started to slowly walk at us. The closer it got, the bigger it seemed to get, and soon I realized that it was not a coyote, but some sort of creature with some long wire-like hair, red all over its face. It was out of nowhere. My brother dropped his slingshot, grabbed me, and started bolting towards the house with our cousin following behind, screaming at us to run. I can't remember how long it took us to actually make it inside that house, but I was so happy to make it inside. Whatever that thing was, it stayed outside watching us. It wasn't until our aunt saw it outside did it leave. My aunt thought it was just a coyote, but my cousin was sure it was a skinwalker.
اسکینواکر همون گرگینه.
Our uncle sided with him.
اسکینواکر من نمیدونم، یا شما تو کامنت ها بنویسید دیگه. ادیتورم نمیخوام بهش زیاد سختی بدم، شما تو کامنت ها بنویسید.
On whatever it was, my uncle was a Navajo and didn't joke about this stuff, but my brother, my aunt, and I weren't. My cousin
چی ولی من داداشم چی؟ من داداشم عمم قبول نکرد.
I weren't. My cousin, who grew up learning about these legends, kept telling him that it was a skinwalker until he was bawling his eyes out. Our uncle decided to believe him and fortify that house the best he could that night. The next day, we went outside and found all the chickens torn apart outside of their pens. My parents came that same day to pick up my brother and I, mainly because our uncle was calling them frantically and they worried about our safety. I rarely keep in touch with those relatives anymore due to my family moving all those years ago, and whenever I do, we never bring up the incident anymore, out of fear that it may have actually been a skinwalker.
داستان توازه چیه؟ منطقی رو با عقل جور در میاد، همه چیز میشه گفت برای این باز حداقل کانتنت ما جور شد. مهم نیست منطقی یا غیر منطقی، کانتنت جور شد، یه بقیه‌اش به یاری خدا. خیلی ممنون که این ویدیو رو تماشا کردید. پس اگه این ویدیو دوست داشتین حتما این ویدیو رو لایک کنید، چنل من رو سابسکرایب کنید، زنگوله بغلش هم بزنید، چنل سه من بالا میاد حتما اونجا ما فالو کنید. چیزی نمونده تا 1000 تایی شدن. توییتر، ردیت، تویچ دیسکریپشن هست، مثل این اینستا که همیشه توی دیسکریپشن هست. به اونا سر بزنید، ویدیو رو گفتم لایک کنید، کامنت مثل فینگلیش بزنید، سابسکرایباتون نیفته نپره. و تا ویدیو بعدی پیس اس.